Welcome back to the Student Hub Live event for the School of Psychology and Counselling. And in this session, we're going to talk about support for psychology students and counselling students. Now, all students at the Open University have a huge range of support, but I really wanted to focus specifically on psychology and counselling. And so I'm joined by the faculty rep, Billy Doherty, and Najibullah Mayo, who works in the student support team as well. So Billy, can I start with you? You are the faculty rep for the association. What's that all about?
I basically act as the bridge between the students and the senior team and the faculty. I was elected last year, along with the rest of the Central Executive Committee. And it's our job to listen to students, put things in place to help support students. Through the association, we have various aspects of student support which students can get involved in that hopefully we'll talk about briefly today.
Yeah.
So yes, that's my role. I sort of go between the students and the faculty.
And where are you at in your studies?
I'm just about to start my first level 3.
Wow.
Yes,
where it all matters.
It all matters, yes.
And how do you feel about that?
I'm really excited about it. I'm really passionate about psychology as a whole. And this is my sort of first one looking at athletics, psychology athletics.
Wow.
So yeah, really excited.
Oh, no pressure then, Billy.
No pressure, yeah.
And in your experience then, what's different in terms of support for psychology and counselling students? We've heard a lot of stories today about people studying for various different reasons, often with very complex lives, responsibilities and situations themselves. What do you see?
Yeah, at the Student Association, we have various forms of support that we can offer to all students. First of all students are automatically members of the Student Association, so they don't have to join, they don't have to fill out any forms, they automatically become a member. In psychology, for example, I have Facebook pages, we have Twitter accounts where students can contact us on there. If they go into oustudents.com, they'll find various array of different support methods in there, from peer support to the OU shops in there if they want to buy the merchandise. We also have Facebook groups and clubs and societies. So for us at the Student Association, one of the first things we try to do is combat that isolation that students feel. When you're at home yourself and you're studying or you get ready to do your TMA, you do feel quite isolated. So building a community, one of the first steps is what we sort of help them do at the Students Association.
Yeah, we're going to talk about that a lot more in detail as well. But I wanted to ask you, Najibullah, how do you sort of deal with a lot of students? What are they most worried about right now? Because you're in the student support team over the road here. So people are going to be phoning you and asking you stuff right now, or they might not be phoning you and they should be. So what happens over the road there, and how do you guys support our students?
Okay, so generally the way I describe what we do is, as a student support, is when the unexpected happens for you as a student, you don't have to be afraid to pick up the phone and ask the student support team. If we don't have an answer for your question, we endeavor to find the answer. In terms of what we support the student with, there's a number of things that our student asks us. For example, what is my next module? Or I am thinking in the long term, this is what I think my career goal is going to be. What is my most suitable module that will fit into what I do then, okay? Or it could be a question such as simple as, I cannot get hold of my tutor, just had a bereavement, in 2-3 days time is my next assignment, it's due, what should I do? So those are sort of things that we do to support students.
Well, we've asked everyone at home what support they might need in their study. So let's take a look and then you can see what resonates here for you. So this is what you had to say. Dyslexia, family, extra reading, so extra time, help with reading, mathematical support, clarification, resources, academic, not sure, emotional support. So a huge range of things here. Library support as well, extra time, advice, student discussion. What sorts of things, looking at that list, can you help with, and what sorts of things can't you? And Billy, I'm going to ask you that after as well.
So where we come in with things like emotional support, we are normally the first port of call with students when they call us and say, this has happened, I'm quite in an emotional state at the moment, I can't really study, I need your help. So part of my job role is to listen to the student, provide advice and guidance, and then look at whether where are you in your studies at this stage? Is it actually the right time for you to be studying? What do you want to do going forward? Do you want to continue studying, or do you want to consider your options? And then we look at the options for students there. If a student say to us, I want to stay on my studies, I want to continue, then we're looking at, in terms of what's going for you at the moment, what can we offer you? Are you looking for an extension for your TMA? Do you want us to reach out to your tutor on your behalf? Or are you happy to talk to your tutor on your behalf there? If there is other things for students that are going on where we cannot generally provide ongoing support, a lot of what our students bring out is current ongoing mental health or other related issues there. We refer them to their local services. For example, have you been in touch with your GP, your local service, about what's going on for you?
Yeah. I mean, I tutor and, I can certainly help with the academic side of things, but whenever students come unstuck, which often happens, and I often wish they'd reached out maybe before they did, it is that student support team, because you've got access to all their records, you know all the various different options. But what I really like is the way that you're sort of, I guess, being a sounding board for students and sort of talking to them, and sometimes just having that space when it's all a bit much and really thinking through, is this right for me? Can be really nice just to have with somebody who's not marking your work or who doesn't know you, who can just sort of really help.
Yeah. I think this is why we encourage our students, whatever is happening in your life right now as a student, just reach out to the student support team. We look at it as long as we don't know what is happening, as long as you have not contacted us and you've told us this has happened, how can we support you? Yeah. But if you reach out to us and say, this has happened, what are my options? Yeah. We're there to listen and outline the options for you as a student. Yeah.
Now, some students had mentioned things like dyslexia, and there are disabilities as well that many of our students are studying with the Open University because of. So how can you support with that, and how does it work? I mean, I might be scared of disclosing something like that.
Well, I think the bottom line for a lot of students is if you suspect you've got dyslexia and you've not been assessed, there is an option for you to contact our disability student support services. What they will be able to do is outline what support will be available for you with the disability there. A huge number of our students study with dyslexia there. It's important to note that that is not going to affect your academic performance. Okay? As long as you have declared that and it's profiled, your tutor has got an awareness there. What is marked in terms of what you produce is the facts, not your handwriting, really. Yeah.
Okay, that's really, really good to know. Well, we've been asking you lots of questions about how easy you find it to ask for support, and also whether you know where to go for help. So 74% of you say that you do know who to contact if you need help, which is absolutely brilliant. And if you don't, always ask your tutor or the student support team. It's very unlikely that one of them won't know who you can speak to sort things out. And also we asked on a scale, how hard or easy it is. But a lot of you had said that you're okay with asking for support, which is really, really, really good. But sometimes it can be difficult. But as you say, if we don't know something about your situation, then we can't help at the end of the day.
Absolutely.
Okay, so Billy, you were talking about the various things that you're doing, and I wanted to talk about some of this because you're involved with the Disabled Students Group as well. Well, there are lots of societies as well within the association, aren't there, that students can reach out to support, I guess, in a peer way.
Yes, in terms of peer support, we do have a peer support group where if students are struggling and need a little bit more support or just somebody to talk to or a little bit more confidence building, they can actually apply through the association to have a peer support worker. Right. You can have it for one session or for the length that you're studying. We also have two affiliated groups. We have the DSG, or the Disabled Students Group, and we have Plexus, which is our LGBT group. And over and above that, we have our clubs and societies. So yeah, there we have a mass amount where the peer support side, so you can speak to other students. I've got dyslexia and I've got Irlen syndrome, and I had to disclose that at the start, and I've been given a mass amount of support to help me get through my degree. So
could you tell us about some of that support? Because
I applied for Disabled Students Allowance. I was awarded money, so I have special programs on my computer and my laptop. It helps me, it reads for me. I have colour sheets that go over the screen, yellow, like that helps with my ability to read. I have a support worker who comes into my home just before with my TMAs, and she'll read through the TMAs. I'll explain what I think the TMA means, and we work through that process. And then she'll proofread for me at the end. And again, all that was through my disabled students allowance, which I get each year.
And how was that process for you in terms of working through that and getting that support?
Very easy. Obviously, I'm from Scotland, so the Scotland team contact me just when I sign up for my new module, and all the fees and that are sorted out. I get a form to fill out, basically just asking what I require. But at the start of the process, when I first applied, because I hadn't had a diagnosis for dyslexia, so what I had to do, I had to go for an educational psychologist report, and they identified the dyslexia and identified the allowance syndrome. And then that report came into the OU, and then I went for an assessment on what I needed equipment-wise and non-medical support-wise.
Okay, now that sounds great. Excellent. I'd like to take a quick trip to our hot desk and see what HJ and Damon are talking about. How's everyone at home?
We're doing really well, as ever, in the chat. We've got lots of great resources being shared as well, because there's loads of things available to us as students to help out in lots of different ways. We were talking earlier about the Sconal Access Scheme, which allows you to study or borrow books from university libraries in your area, which can be a big help and support when studying, to have that own space or be able to access resources. We've been also talking about our favourite thing, student discounts as well, which is always helpful to save money in different places.
That's a thing, actually. That's a really good thing that'll make you feel like a student is getting that card out at the co-op and getting 10% off.
Definitely.
Your wine.
And we've got a great point as well from Sarah in the chat. She says she finds it hard to recognise when I need to ask for help and make that initial contact. Do you have any advice for her?
Oh, that's a brilliant question, because it is hard, isn't it? Like, are you just overreacting or not? Do you get many calls when people are just, shouldn't have called you?
Yeah, we get many calls from students, and some of them say, I'm really embarrassed. I'm not sure I'm supposed to be contacting you or not. And the first thing that we usually say is, you know what, you've done the right thing by actually picking up the phone and contacting us there. So what's the issue at this stage? How can we help? Sometimes some issues might look like a very, very small and embarrassing issues for students there, but we take each and every one of the things that come through to us very seriously for each and every one of our students there. Yeah. So again, I'll reiterate that for all our students there, if you get to a point where you feel like there's nobody to turn to, you feel like you want to talk to somebody considering your options, pick up the phone and talk to student support. Like we said, if I don't have the answer, if we don't have the answer at student support team, we'll generally 10 times out of 10, we'll find the answer for the students there. Yeah.
And it's really nice because you're open like the Saturday morning times and sort of extended hours as well. So for people who do work 9 to 5, they can often find a window to be able to get hold of you guys.
Yeah, absolutely. We're open 8 in the morning to 8 in the evening, and we're open on Monday to Friday. Yeah. So Saturdays we're open 9 in the morning to 5 in the evening. Yeah.
And you can also email as well, but it's nicer to call, isn't it?
Absolutely.
Yeah. Okay, brilliant. So one of the projects, Billy, I wanted to ask you about is in your role as faculty representative. Is that you've got some really exciting stuff, haven't you, going on, bringing students to campus and getting them involved and really representing the student voice that's so important. So tell us what you've got going on and how our psychology students can get involved and counselling students.
When I stood for election last year, I had 2 manifesto promises. One was to make sure the student voice was embedded into FAS, which is happening. And the second one is about building FAS community. So taking those on board, I as faculty rep have 5 spaces on the faculty assembly. So I can bring students onto campus where they get a chance to meet other students, they meet the staff, people that wrote their modules, they get to hear about what's happening within the faculty. I have 2 new projects, actually 3 kicking off very shortly. One is called the FAS Speakeasy. Before I stood for election, I was listening to students saying that they felt disconnected from the university, or they felt their voice wasn't just being taken seriously. So I wrote a proposal to the Executive Dean of the faculty and asked, would it be a possibility for me to take the faculty exec out on tour to meet the students? So we've called it the FAS Speakeasy. And the first one's kicking off next year in Edinburgh. But again, if students watch their news feeds, over the next couple of months, you'll see information about that. Secondly, especially in Scotland, we're looking at setting up a psychology students committee. That means that students' voice can then be deep into what happens within the faculty within Scotland. And I've got some volunteers being trained on Adobe at the moment, because I'm going to start something called Fast Connect. And this will be drop-in sessions for psychology students or students within Fast to pop in, meet other students, have a chat, maybe have a quiz night. But then at the same time, we can do some specialised nights looking at maybe help for disabled students or referencing. So these are all things that as faculty rep I've got coming up in this last year of my term. So.
Oh, sounds really exciting, Billy. And thank you for joining us. And you're going to swap places with Damon, aren't you, to keep chatting?
Yeah.
And as our fashion continues from guests in the studio who are now returning to our chat to keep talking to you, I have to say that, Tim, we will have no bribery in the chat. Right, our next video is why we see faces in clouds. So we're going to enjoy that, and then we'll be back in our last session to look at ways of staying connected with the faculty. I'll see you in a minute.